It's the Mountain West Championship. You got the UNLV Rebels going to go on the road. And that's right, guys. This is not a neutral site game. This is on the road at Boise State. It's going to be on the blue turf. This one's going down on Friday, 8 p.m., Albertson Stadium. As I said, um, this is going to be a rematch of what we've already seen. Last I saw on this one, Boise State was favored by 4. The over-under is a high 59.5, by far the highest of the conference championships and all the totals that we've looked at. This obviously is for a bid into the college football playoff. UNLV was kind of a beneficiary last week of Tulane stumbling. Tulane was in kind of, I guess you could say, in line behind Boise State to receive that college football playoff bid, but they lost to Memphis. And so, therefore, now UNLV has a chance to play for their chance to go to the college football playoff. Really, really big deal. Boise State 11-1, the lone loss this year, obviously coming to Oregon early in the season. I believe it was second or third game of the season. Um, let's look at some of the stats. Everybody thinks of Boise State and they think of Gentry, right? They think 2,000 something yards this year. Heisman hopeful. He's going to be in the Heisman ceremony for sure, and absolutely deserves to be. Everybody thinks that this Boise State team, that's all that they're about, and they hand the ball off to Genty, and I said Gentry, and I'm sorry about that. I meant Genty. Thank you, Uncle Lou, for messing me up. Dude is in my head. He mispronounces it every time he says it, and so now I mispronounce it every time I say it, and I know the dude's name. But anyway, with that being said, I've seen this Boise State team this season, Mason. I've seen them win different ways, and it's been impressive. Now, it's been impressive in the fact that they've been able to be so versatile. Every win wasn't impressive. Every win wasn't just stellar, amazing. But as I said, Boise State and particularly this offense has figured out a way to get it done in different scenarios. We've seen Genty obviously have a bunch of really good games, setting all kinds of records for consecutive games with X amount of yards, blah blah blah. But he has had a couple of games where he played like a normal human, and Boise State was able to figure out ways to win this. Looking at the matchup predictor here on ESPN, I see that Boise State's got a 68.7% chance to win. I don't bet on these things or anything like that, but I just try to pass you the information and let you do with it what you will. Quarterback Madsen for Boise State has had a nice year. Got to watch him a pretty good bit, and I've been pretty impressed with his ability to control the football game. 21 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's got just over 2,500 yards for the season. Not anything that just like blows your socks off necessarily, but that's what you got Genty for, right? So this guy's been asked to manage this offense, and he's done a good job of doing that. We all remember the, kind of the drama that went on with UNLV and their quarterback kind of stepping out of the way with his situation. I think it was NIL related or whatnot. You see the backup step up Williams in his spot. And he's been a breath of fresh air. 17 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. We all remember Boise State beating UNLV earlier this season. Here's kind of my thing with this game. It is going to be bitter cold at this game. This is one of the few conference championship games that we're going to talk about today that it's not in a dome. It's not inside. This is going to be in Idaho in December. So it is going to be exactly what you would think it would be. It's going to be cold. It's going to be blustery, and it's more than likely going to be windy as well. I've got some of the stats on the screen here. This is UNLV's offense versus Boise State's defense, and then we'll kind of switch it up here in a second. Boise State defense has not been great against the pass, but UNLV has been more of a running football team, and that's been more of the strength defensively for Boise State. So really, if you kind of look at UNLV's offense, their strengths kind of play into the strengths of the Boise State Broncos and their defense in this situation. Um, I'm interested to see how that plays out, right? Boise hasn't been just a shut you down type defense this season, I wouldn't say. Averaging giving up 5.65 yards per play. That's not necessarily just amazing, but it's not terrible either. They've been fairly well rounded as a football team in general, but I think UNLV is going to have to figure out a way to get the passing game going here and hit this team over the top. I believe. Let's kind of flip the script here. We'll look at the UNLV defense. They've been pretty decent at stopping the run, but they don't play Ashton Genty every week either. So it's a whole nother thing. It's just a whole nother thing whenever you've got that guy in the backfield. I believe Boise State is going to be able to run the football in this game, and I think they're going to be able to eat up some clock that way. They're really good at just sustaining drives. Dirk Cutter has done a good job with this offense. Like I said, they're versatile, so they got many different ways that they can beat you, but good at sustaining drives, about almost 70 plays per game. That's really good. 6.91 yards per play. That's outstanding. So what are your thoughts on this game, Mason? I'll just kind of try to dress up what each of these teams look like and some of their characteristics here. The stakes couldn't be higher. I don't know that the stakes have ever been higher for a Mountain West championship game. Ever, right? This is a huge deal here. I think in the bitter cold that is going to take place in this game, I think whoever can run the football is going to be able to win this one, as we've talked about a ton for these conference championship games. Thomas for UNLV will be the guy tasked with doing that, and he's had a good season, but nothing like Mr. Superman Genty himself on the other side there, and I believe that gives Boise a upper hand in this game.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think personnel wise, as far as the players go on the field, I think Boise State has the upper hand. But when I look at the coaching staff, I love UNLV. I like Barry Odom leading this group. As the head coach, I like Dirk Cutter as the offensive coordinator. I think that there is a slight advantage to UNLV in this game when it comes to the coaching. When you mentioned that the team that rushes the ball better, these are two teams that are good at running the football. I went back and rewatched this matchup from earlier in the season to kind of prepare for this breakdown, and I think you can really take a lot from that. There wasn't a ton of just turnovers or weird plays or anything like that. You had the one turnover by UNLV on their side of the field, which gave Boise State a short field and an easy score there. But outside of that, I thought it was a pretty clean game, and I think there is a lot to glean from that game. And surprisingly, in that football game, UNLV actually outrushed Boise State. Now, a lot of that was coming from Haj Malik Willis, and we're not talking about a ton of rushing yards that they outgained them by. It was 188 to 185, but on just 36 attempts in comparison to Boise State's 40. So UNLV in the last game did rush the football better. Boise State did a little bit better job of passing the football. They were 30 points or 30 yards, had 30 yards more passing than UNLV. But really, what the game came down to was, and I'm going to sound like a genius for saying this, Mark, but the game came down to the line of scrimmage, right? And what I mean by that is when you look at the sack yardage that Boise State was able to get on the offensive line for UNLV, they got 6 sacks for 39 yards lost. On the flip side, UNLV wasn't able to get to the quarterback at all. 0 sacks, 0 yards lost. I don't have like a quarterback pressure percentage or anything like that for you guys, but we can deduce from there that the pressure that Boise State was getting on UNLV was much greater than the pressure that UNLV was getting on Boise State. And I think that is sort of the underlying advantage that Boise State has. I mean, everybody wants to look at Genty. Everybody wants to look at the running game, and really Madsen too. I think he's been stellar for the most part. He is a game operator and does exactly what is needed. He doesn't put the ball in harm's way. He's very efficient as a quarterback. But the defensive line for Boise State, I think, is going to once again win them this football game. I've got Boise State winning this one. I think it's going to be pretty close. The last game ended up 24-29, if I'm not mistaken, in that football game. And yeah, 24-29. So 53 points total. The over-under was 63.5. So the under hit by 10 points, pretty wide margin. You're seeing it swing back down now to the 59.5, I guess it was. And so I think it's going to be a similar game plan or a similar outcome, really. And but I like Boise State in this one. I think that they're playing at home, obviously, is going to be huge. Playing on the Smurf turf, hearing the crowds just screaming, Genty, Genty, Genty. It brings chills to me just thinking about it, Mark. And I love watching Boise State when they play at home and seeing the crowd just so into that, into every play. I mean, they're hanging on the edge of their seats for every single play. That's going to play a huge factor in this one. Unless UNLV can stop that crowd early, with a big explosive play, touchdown on each of their first two drives, and they're up 14-0. I think that could silence the crowd just a bit early in that game. But without some sort of lead like that, the crowd is going to play a factor against that offensive line, which struggled against Boise State in the first matchup. I think you're going to see something similar in this one, a lot of offsides and things like that. I've got Boise State by at least a touchdown here.
Yeah, I like Boise State here as well, Mason. I've heard several people kind of want to take the contrarian pick here in UNLV, but with this being at home and the weather being the way that it is, I mean, you've got guys coming from the desert going out to, going up to just terrible conditions as far as most humans are concerned, right? I'll be the first to tell you, it's like 68 degrees in here right now, and I have a jacket on. So I'm from the South. I
You've
won't
got
pretend
like a sub 20-degree jacket on right now,
I
and
do. Look at this thing is like a
a
inside
down
of like a
jacket.
it's like the inside of you ever seen one of them Chick-fil-A bags where they keep the biscuits warm in the morning?
Yeah.
It's like the inside of that thing, man. All I'm missing is a plug to plug this thing in the wall,
And
and
then the
I
fact that
would.
you reference Chick-fil-A as opposed to like a pizza bag or
I
something
didn't
like
even
that,
think about that.
that just shows you're from Georgia even more.
Yeah, I would say so. Chick-fil-A's once a week thing for us over here. So, um, look, I like Boise State. I like the Broncos in this one. It's been a great season for UNLV. They've been a fun team to watch. They've went through adversity this season. I love the coach over there. I've been watching him since he was in the SEC. I thought he did some good things at Missouri, Mr. Odom. So I really, really like him as a coach, and I like what he's doing there at UNLV for sure. But give me Boise State to win the Mountain West in 2024. Congratulations to the Broncos. This secures a big spot for them in the college football playoff. Really, really big deal here.